Hello again. Today we're going to do a video on retro-brighting. Just a general overview. I had a friend come to me and ask me how to get rid of the yellow on the systems, and I explained it to him on what retro-brighting is. You know, it's generally using peroxide and keeping it in the sun. The UV from the sun helps revert the plastic back. It gets rid of all of the yellowing. Well, not all of the yellowing, but most of it. So it's not as noticeable as it used to be. Okay, so today what I'm going to do is I decided after talking to him that I would just retro-bright his system for him, so we're going to do it on camera. So this, I already put a layer of peroxide on this, and I'll put some pictures. This is actually the second application. I showed him the first time and I didn't want to film it because he didn't want to be on camera. But yeah, so this is actually the second application. This is day 2 for this one, and you can see it looks a lot better. I'll put some pictures. I did take some pictures prior to me putting the peroxide on and sticking it outside, but you can still see it's still a little yellow. You can still see a little bit of yellow on it, and I'm just gonna go over the process on how I get to this point. First thing you want to do is disassemble your system. If you don't know how to do that, there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do it, and I'll show you what I use for my retro-brighting. So I like to use the 40 volume cream from Salon Care. This stuff actually works great, and I always get the cream or creme, whatever you want to call it, and this is the maximum amount that you can buy without having a salon license. I did actually have my friend who is in the salon business buy me a 50 one time, and that stuff worked great, but unfortunately I ran out of this. This stuff is fairly cheap at your local salons. This bottle was about $5, and I believe they use it for like highlighting and stuff. But yeah, so go down and pick this up. This is all you need. I see a lot of people mixing like these things, these Salon Cares, with the baking soda, and they said it's supposed to have some kind of chemical reaction that makes it work better. But to be honest, I tried a side-by-side with baking soda and not baking soda, and they both work the same, if not with the baking soda was a little slower. So I just buy the cream and put it on. I could understand why people would mix it with baking soda. The only reason I could think of was that they try to thicken it, because this one is pretty thick, but they do have a regular one that's not cream. It's basically a peroxide liquid, and that stuff doesn't really stay too well on pieces when you try to pour it on. But yeah, so this is the one that I use, and this one to me works the best, other than the 50. If you can get the 50, get the 50, but this one to me works the best. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need, is just this. Secondly, a glove would be good. You can use a paintbrush, but I find it better all around to just use your hand to spread the peroxide on. And I usually put it in a little bowl, and I'll dip my fingers in the bowl and just rub it on gently. So I got a little bit on there right there. And then what we'll do is we'll just get a piece here. This is my Super Nintendo. I decided to retro-bright at the same time. And I'll just put it on, and I'll just spread it on with my fingers, making sure I get all of the little nooks and crannies, all the sides. This is actually the flap for my Super Nintendo. And I'll just make sure that it's nicely, evenly covered. I'll usually do circular motions. Sometimes when you do straight motions like this, you'll get streaks. When you do a circular motion like this, it doesn't seem to streak as bad. I mean, you'll get some, but most of the time you don't even notice it, or it doesn't even have any streaks on it. So yeah, I just like to lightly coat it like that, and then we'll put it on the side. This one we'll just do another quick coat on. Let me get some more peroxide. There we go. We'll rub this on. Make sure to get in all the little pukas. Let's do some circular motions. Make sure it doesn't clump up too. That's another thing too. If you get like huge like clumps of the peroxide on your product, it's gonna streak. You're gonna get like spots. So it's good to just smooth it as best as you can all out. just like that. Okay, I'm gonna put that one aside, and let's do the bottom of my SNES right here. You can see this one. I did it on this before, but you can see it's starting to turn yellow again. It's because I have a window right next to my console, and the sun just shines in there and then just destroys the plastic. So what we'll do is we'll just rub a little bit on here, right along here, right along the edge. Front of the console. Make sure to get in all of those little nooks and crannies. And then what you do is you just take this outside and you just leave it in the sun for a few hours. Fortunately today it's a very, very sunny day, so this shouldn't take too long, and the sun is like pretty brutal today. So this shouldn't take more than like maybe 2 or 3 hours to start seeing a difference. I like to leave it out for at least 4 hours. Leaving it out for at least 4 hours will guarantee results. And what we can do is a comparison after I take these out of the sun. I'll bring them in and then we'll do a video on it. I don't know if it's going to be part of the same video. Maybe I'll just put them together. I mean, this isn't going to be a very long process. So there we go. So just make sure everything is completely covered. Looks good. And then I'm just gonna lay this down right here. And another rule of thumb, it'd probably be a good idea to get 2 gloves, but for some reason I lost the other glove. It was here, but it must have fallen off. All right, so then that's basically it for my retrobriting process. You don't need to completely or expect it to lighten in the first go. You're gonna have to do this a few times. Like I said, this is the second time for this GameCube controller port. This is the second run for it. What is that? Something black on there. But this is the second run for that one. So I'll put some pictures up of how it looked before. But yeah, so next thing you wanna do is just go and put these out in the sun for at least 4 hours to see any notable difference, or at least 2 hours for any notable difference. After you have it in the sun for that long, you go out and check it, see if it's to where you like it. If not, then just bring it back in and put another coat on. But yeah, so I'm gonna get these outside. I'm gonna take a few pictures and we'll wait 4 hours. All right, so you can see here that I have it all laid out. I have to forgive the noise. They're doing construction next door. But yeah, and as soon as I came outside, of course the sun went away. But it'll be back out shortly. It's just behind some clouds right now. All right, so we're gonna leave these out here for about 4 hours and then we'll come back and check it. All right, so here we go. This is about 2 hours later. You can see that it's starting to make a difference. You do have to constantly move the pieces so that they are facing the sun. This one looks really good. It looks like all the yellow went away. But yeah, you'll see there's still a little bit of yellow on the front of this. It'll start fading soon. So a couple more hours out here. I may do another application of the peroxide on the outside of them, but we'll see. We'll see if it needs it. I don't think it needs it. There's kind of a lot on there now. But yeah, so this is the progress so far. We'll come back in another couple of hours and check it out. All right, it's been about 3.5 hours. I decided to bring the pieces in. Unfortunately, it started to rain, so I think I'm just gonna call it on that. I think they look pretty good. We'll go over them in a second. One of the downsides to living in Hawaii is it's completely sunny, not a cloud in the sky 1 minute, and then it starts to pour. And it's just like, dang. But anyways, let me show you how it went. So first I'm going to show you the bottom of the Super Nintendo. As you can see, it started to get some streaking, but that's totally normal. If you go over this one more time, those streaks will disappear. You're not even going to see them. It's probably because I didn't turn it in time and I didn't rub properly across the entire thing. I think I just did like a fast wipe down with it. But yeah, you can see right there, it's kind of yellowing, or still a little yellow, like right here. Focus! Anyways, yeah, it's kind of yellow right there. You can see the difference in the Super Nintendo if I bring in the top. This top I had done yesterday, and you can see the major difference in it. You can see like the bottom part is a lot more yellow than the top. So this was more of a successful run with the retro-brightening versus this one. This one was outside for like almost 6 hours, maybe even longer. And you can see that a lot of it is just, all the yellowing is pretty much gone, but you have this bottom piece which is still really yellow. I might have to run this again. I'll probably do that tomorrow, maybe, when the weather's a little better, not so bipolar. But yeah, so that's the Super Nintendo. That came out great. That's actually a Super Nintendo I had since I was a kid. It wasn't mine. It actually belonged to my grandma. She bought it for my cousins because they would come down every summer and stay with her for 3 months. So my grandma decided to buy them a Super Nintendo while they were there. They weren't allowed to take it home, but while they were here, they had a Super Nintendo to play with. And eventually, my cousins grew up and stopped coming down, so it just was sitting in a closet. And I went there one day after my grandma had passed away, and they were clearing out all of her old stuff, and they just so happened to find the Super Nintendo. And of course I had first dibs on it. Everybody's like, are you gonna take it? I'm like, sure. And they're like, okay, we'll take it. So that's a good piece of my childhood that I'm always gonna remember, and I do want to take care of it, is the Super Nintendo. And I also had my own at home. That one, unfortunately, I got rid of. What kids do when you're young. Get rid of the current system they have and save up for the new one. But anyways, so the next piece I want to show is this. This was the flap for the SNES, and this one actually came out really good. There's no yellow on it at all. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. This turned out great, as you can see. Yeah, this is just the flap for the game cards, or cartridges, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, there was a lot of yellowing around the top and in between here, and it's all gone. So this came out great with the retro-brightening process. Very happy with that one. And lastly, the whole reason why I started this video was because of this. This is the GameCube controller port faceplate thing, whatever you call it. But yeah, not a spot of yellow really left on it. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. This looks great. I think my friend's gonna be very, very happy with this. He was a little worried yesterday because it didn't really make that much of a difference. He says, oh, it does look a little better, but it's still, you know, still yellow. It looks kind of gross. So I think he'll be very happy with this. But yeah, so all in all, that's the retro-brightening process. It's just peroxide and sunlight. I like to use the cream. You guys can use whatever you want. I've seen people buy like tons of those peroxide, the liquid form, not the cream form, and they'll just fill up a plastic tub and let everything sit in it. I think that's kind of a waste, but whatever floats your boat. If you think it works better for you, then go right ahead and do it. The baking soda method, to me, is not... I mean, you can if you want. If you want to do it that way, that's fine, but I still, like, from personal experience, this works just as well, if not better, than the hydrogen peroxide and baking soda method. And you do have to actually buy a high percentage hydrogen peroxide. You can't just use the store-bought shelf stuff. You can, but it's going to take a lot longer, because usually the store-bought hydrogen peroxide is only like 3% peroxide versus, I don't know how much percent this is. I think it's 40% hydrogen peroxide, the cream I use. But yeah, so the 3% isn't really going to do much unless you leave it for a few days. And then you'll see like a minor difference. But the 40s and 50s and even the 30 and the 40, there's a very small difference between it, which is kind of weird, because the 40 to 50 volume hydrogen peroxide cream has a major difference than what I use today. Maybe one day I'll ask my friend to go get me some more. I believe she's still on island, so I'll ask her to go pick me up one. You gotta show your like whatever license. I don't know what it is. You have to be a licensed beautician to use that stuff. I don't know. But anyways, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. I'm gonna show a couple of videos why you should always wear gloves when you're working with hydrogen peroxide. It wasn't today, but it was yesterday. I actually poked a hole in my glove and the peroxide got in, and I didn't think it was a big deal or anything. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just wash my hands after. And it only took about like maybe like 7 minutes before it started to itch a little. And when I took my gloves off, like, I could see that it like pretty much burned my skin. And I'll show you guys pictures of it. I mean, it's gone now because it was just the top layer of my skin, and it pretty much rubbed off after like a few hours. Like, all the dead skin just rubbed right off, but it is kind of tender. But that's why you should never do what I did in this video. And I didn't have a glove on this hand, and I was handling the peroxide pieces with a bare hand. But I am close by to my kitchen sink, so after I shot the video, I went and washed my hands right away before I brought the pieces outside. Like, I had a little box that I brought the pieces outside in, and then I washed my hands again after that. But yeah, be careful when you're working with hydrogen peroxide. It'll eat your skin. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. You guys have a nice day. So here we go. This is why you should always wear gloves when working with hydrogen peroxide. As you can see, it kind of just ate through the top layer of my skin. It wasn't anything major. It didn't hurt or anything, but it does look kind of gross. It did fade after a few hours. But yeah, my suggestion would be to always double up on your gloves so you don't have the same mistake like I did here, where it pokes through the glove and eventually eats through the top layer of your skin. So just remember, safety first when working with any type of chemical, not just peroxide. And I would suggest wearing glasses too. That's a biggie. You don't want to get this stuff in your eyes. Alright, so this is a picture of the Nintendo GameCube controller port faceplate prior to retro-brightening. You can see it's really yellow. This is after the first application of retro-brightening. You can see it looks a lot better. Alright, you can see right here, this is the final product. The retro-brightening worked great. I'm really happy with the results. You can still see some yellowing if you look really good, but that's the retro-brightening process. It's not perfect. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. You guys have a wonderful day.